Okay, good evening. We're early Lil Nishmas, Imir Rossi, Esther Bashlem, Salman Alevi, Neshama should have an Aliyah. Okay, we're up to Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. So the Mishnah had said that things that that let's say are matir, usually there's no pigel. It's something that's a matir. So the kaimitz, there won't be a din of pigel, but there would be a din of what? Of nicer or tame. There would be a din of nicer and tame, with the exception of dam. Dam is an exception that even though there's no din of pigel in the dam, nonetheless there is a din of what? There's no din of nicer and tame. Guys, again, listen to the akdama. Listen to the akdama. We're linked into pigel, nicer, and tame as together. We've been linked together. We know that there's no din in, for example, in the kaimitz. The kaimitz is a matter; it permits the shirayim. Good. The kaimitz, even though there's no din in pigel in it, there would be a din of if you tame and eat it, or it's nicer, you leave it over and you eat it, you be chayav kares. However, dam is an exception. Now, why is it an exception? Dam is also no din of pigel; it's also a matter. Yet there's no din of nicer or tame, and that's the subject of the first part of the daf. Okay, it's a good thing to have a chumash here. It's very, very good to have a chumash. Okay, now chutz min adam, minani mili. Now we're going to bring a brisa in, and the brisa is going to discuss three opinions. Right, brisa is going to discuss three opinions. Well, actually not a brisa. It's three statements of Amoraim, saying why there's no din of meila in dam. Good. So Avani, it says the Hanarabanan. Ula. Hani Mili. How do you know? Chutz min adam minani mili. How do you know there's no din? Pashtus guys. How do you know there's no din of noiser and tame by dam? But we're going to get there through meila. We're going to arrive there through meila. So this Mishnah, this conversation is said on a Mishnah in meila. This is said on a Mishnah in meila. Chutz min adam minani mili. That there's no meila in the dam. So Ula, the pasuk says, "Vani." This is the same pasuk. Ki nefesh habasa bedam hi, the nefesh of the buses in the dam. V'ani nesativ lachem al mizbeach. I've given to you on the mizbeach lechaper al nafshay seichem ki adam hu b'nefesh yichaper. So it says v'ani nesativ lachem. Says Ula shalachem. It should be yours, guys. When's there din of meila? When it's kachay Hashem. But since it says over here lachem, it's telling you there's no din of meila. Why? Because it is yours. So therefore, the focus is on the word shalachem. Yehei, it should be yours, and therefore there's no din of meila, because meila is what in your mile from Hegdish. The Bei Rabbi Yishmael Tana, the Yeshiva Rabbi Yishmael Amakra. The pasuk says again, "Vani kinefesh habasa bedamhu vani nesativ lechem al mizbeach lechaper nesativ." I've given it what as a lekapar nesativ. I've given to you as a kapara for loyla meila. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, again the same pasuk Amakra. The pasuk says, "Ki nefesh habasa bedam hi," or "Ki adam hu benefesh chaper." Who? So he says who. What does that mean? Hu lifnei kapara. If the dam is after the kapara, kilaacha before the kapara, kilaacha kapara, ma'acha kapara. Let's say you would scrape it off the mizbeach and you used it already. Ein boy meila. There's no din of meila. Af lifnei kapara. So too lifnei kapara ein bo meila. There's no din of meila. Okay, so you have three limudim, fellas. Either Ula's limudim shalachem, the Bei Rabbi Shmuel from mat lechaper, or what? Or Rabbi Yochanan's from what? From who? And what's the who? That if it's before the same as after. Just like after there's no din of meila, so too before there's no din of meila. The Gemara questions that last statement. The Gemara questions that last statement. Emo la'acha kapara. Why don't we say after the kapara kilifnei kapara? It should be after the kapara, like before the kapara. In other words, just like before the kapara, there's mila. Even after the kapara, there's mila. So how do you know before? You're saying just like after there's not, so to this before is not. I could say the opposite. Let's say just like before there is, so to la'acha there is, and therefore you will know the din of mila. Malafnei kapara yesh by mila. I could suggest that before kapara there's a din of mila. After la'acha kapara, even after you spritz, yesh by mila. On that, the Gemara says Yisoid Ein lecha dava shenasa mitzvasai u'moilin ba. There's nothing that if you go ahead, there's nothing that if you go ahead and do the mitzvah u'moilin ba, and that's a din of milah. So in other words, guys, you can't possibly suggest that before after should be like before, and say before there was Mila and after there's Mila. After means after this Rika. Once you did the mitzvah, there's nothing that once you do the mitzvah, that there's a din of Mila. In other words, once the mitzvah is done, that's Hashnish going Kaddish Hashem. It's not called Kaddish Hashem anymore. It's finished. Good? So in Mela, you can't suggest that what there should be Mila before. It must be that what? Just like after you do the mitzvah, there's no Mila, so too before there's no Mila. Just like after there's no Mila, so too before there's no Mila. Mem Vav Amid Aleph, penny. Okay, so guys, we have our source. What we're trying to figure out is by the Mishnah says that even though a matir, even though something is a matir, right? It is no pigel. Nonetheless, in that matir, there would be a din of what? Of tumah if you eat it with tumah, or nicer if you eat it if it's left over. So I'll give you a matir, I'll give you a kaimitz. You have a kaimitz of a mincha. We said there's no pigel because it's matir something else. Good? If you leave it out and eat it, you be chayav kares. If your tamei, a kohen tamei eats it, he be chayav kares. Because there is a din of tumah and nicer, with the exception of dam. Dam is what? Dam is a matir. Again, we're discussing the issue of nicer. Again, certainly you're over in the issue of dam. We're not discussing the issue of dam. We're discussing the issue of tamei and nicer. The kachim dika din hesh, not the chulin dika dam din. Not the din that okay. So now we just have a source. There's no me'ila by dam. We have a machlokes, a three machlokes, where the source is between Ula, Rabbi Shmuel, and Rabbi Yochanan, all from the same pasuk. One says Shalachem, it's yours, no mila. Lachaper for kapara, no mila. One says who, it's before you do the mitzvah, like after the mitzvah, right? Now, and we're suggesting that what you can't possibly say that before should be like after, because after should be mila, because we don't have anything that you do the mitzvah, guys. There's nothing that you do the mitzvah that is what it's still kaidish. Now we're going to show two examples of things that are. Okay? So that's what we're up to. Says the Gemara. V'loi, there's nothing that you do the mitzvah, there's no din in milah. For a trumas hadeshen, the separating of the ish. The first avoid of the day would be go up, you would go and take a shovel, put it into, and bring it down. What would you do, fellas? You put it on the southeast side of the ramp. You put it on the southeast side of the ramp, and you know what happened? It would get swallowed up miraculously. But it was asa. So then, you did the mitzvah already. Trumas hadesh, and you separated the ish. Nonetheless, it's still asa, right? So Trumas hadesh, and you did the mitzvah, and nonetheless, it's still asa. And that Gemara says, "Mishum davei Trumas hadesh, ubig de kahuna shnei ksuma boin keachad." You have Trumas hadesh, and the begodim of the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur, the big day love on, the 4 big day love on that he does in Yom Kippur, that also, after you do the mitzvah, it's also b'hana. So, v'chol shnei ksuma boin keachad malamdim. Okay, fellas, outside. You wore it only one time. Guys, outside. We have a rule in Shas. The Torah is Makatza. If you wanted to tell me the halacha, say it by one thing and I'll learn it out from there. The fact that it's repeated is to say it's unique to these two places and none other. So Mimela, what's your kasha now? You're telling me that there's nothing that you do the mitzvah. That there's no milah. Why? Because you did the mitzvah already. Because anytime you do the mitzvah, it's showing not kodesh. I'll give you two things that you did the mitzvah. Right? You have Trumas Hadeshen, you did the mitzvah and it's still kodesh. So let's learn now from there to Dam. Gemara says, no, you know what the Torah does? It repeats the second place by Big De Kahuna. That the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, when he wears the beged, he wears it once a year, and he leaves it there, and that's it. You can't use it anymore. So now, why do you say two places? To tell me, Dafka, these two places and no other place. Good. However, we have a problem. The begodim of the Kohen Gadol, there's another opinion that the regular Kohen Hedjit could wear it. So then it's only you have one limud. In other words, there you did the mitzvah and you could still use it. So obviously, what it's not asabana. So you only have Trumas Adeshin. So if you only have one thing, so you see that what? She'll learn after that one thing. So that's the Gemara's kasha. Hanicha. Rabbanon say that the Kohen Gadol leaves him there, Sham, Malamed Shetunim Geniza. You know what that means? You have to go ahead and hide it because no one else, you can wear it again. It's Asabana. And therefore it's Bishnei Ksuvim. El Reb Doisu Dama Mutaris Hain Lekayin Hedjit, but Reb Doisu says that a Kohen Hedjit could use the begotten of the Kohen Gadol. Now, if he could use it, what do you see? That he did the mitzvah and showing it didn't lose it lost whatever unique kedusha that it had what to Yom Kippur. So so now, guys, you only have one. You have Trumas Hadeshin. So let's learn that dam from Trumas Hadeshin. Just like Trumas Hadeshin, even after you did the mitzvah, it's Kaidish. So too by dam, even after you did the mitzvah, you could be moil. And then we'll learn out lifnei kapara from the lacha kapara. Says the Mishnah that Trumas Hadeshin v'egla rufa shnei ksuma b'in ke'echad. Okay. I have egla rufa, guys. What's an egla rufa? You find a dead body between two cities. You measure the closest city. The one that's closest, they bring a egel nachalesin to a place. They don't bring the egel to the place where they found the corpse. They bring it to a place that was never worked before, and you decapitate it. And it's asa. It's asa b'hana. So you did the mitzvah, you decapitated it, and it's still asa b'hana. So now I have two things. I have Trumas Hadeshin and Egla Rufa. Both you did the mitzvah, it's asa b'hana. The male I can't learn atam from them. It's an opinion that you would learn out from two, not three, but two, yes. On that, where is it? Trey miyutik sivi. There's two miyutim by Trumas Hadeshin and Egla Rufa. Ksiv ha'arufa. You know what ha'arufa means? The arufa and only the arufa. It's a miyut. Only the aruf is asa b'hana. And v'hasam ksiv, and what does it say by the begadim of the Kohen Gadol? It says v'samoi. You've got v'samoi etzalam mizbeach. V'samoi, place it. So there, I meant, I don't mean big the Kohen Gadol. I meant Trumas Hadeshin. I'm sorry. Trumas Hadeshin, place it. Okay. So guys. So therefore, very good. We have a limud. We have a limud. What's our limud? Again, only digression was on the last limud of Rabbi Yochanan, but we have three limudim to teach me the same thing by dam, either from the chaper or from hu or from what of shalachem. Good. Now, why do I need three? Says the Gemara, the tilsa kroi bedam lamali. Why do I need three psukim bedam? Look at Rashi, guys. Three psukim. Look at Rashi. 4 lines up, 4 lines up. Lachem lechapehu. Rashi just succinctly told you. It's really one pasuk. Rashi's telling you it's 3 limudim from the same pasuk, guys, right? I read to you the pasuk. The pasuk it's one pasuk. Ki nefesh habasa begamhu bedamhu. V'ani nisatu lechem al mizbech lechaper. Ki adamhu benefesh. So in other words, it's not 3 psukim. Rashi's telling you it's 3 words in one pasuk. And one of the 3 words, lechem lechapehu. Now, why do we start out trying to figure out? We try to figure out why there's no din by dam and nicer that there is no din of dam by dam nicer and tameh. Good. So on that, so v'shleisha v'tzil sekrei b'dam lamali lemute me'ila 1 mi nicer 2 umi tama. Aval pigel et sarachra. You don't need pigel. You need a pasuk of pigel. That nan kol sheyesh lein matirin. Anything that something else matters it, then it's not shaykh pigel. The dam begufa matahu. Dam itself is a matir. Okay, so guys, let's chaz riba. Why do we say? We said in the Mishnah that even though something is not shaykh pigel, it's shaykh the din of noiser and tameh, with the exception of dam. Dam is not only shaykh pigel, it's not shaykh noiser and tameh. Why isn't it shaykh pigel? Because it itself is a matir. Why is it no din of dam? Because we have 3 psukim. We have 3 things to tell me the same din meila, right? There's no din of meila. No, I don't need it for meila, right? Because I have it. So it's to teach me what? 1 meila, 2 nicer, 3 tameh, that it doesn't exist. That if a kohen's tameh needs dam, he's not chayiv. If the kohen's tummy and he eats nicer, he's not. He eats or if he, now forget tummy. He's not tummy. He's pure. He's pure as can be. But he eats nicer would not be chayav kares.
The big day kahuna used to make wicks. Am I making that up?
No, you're not making it up. But that's speaking and not speaking about the begodim of the kohen gadol in Kippur. You're speaking up from the kohen hedjit. Yeah. Now, according to the daya that the kohen hedjit could use it, einachinami. You could make wicks for the. You're speaking about the simcha space hashuay, but they would make wicks for the.
Torches.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm Rabbi Yechanan. Shloisha krisis b'shlamim lama. Oh, now we have 3 psukim, guys. We have 3 psukim. The main pasuk I want you to remember is the following. Emor aleihem l'daresechem, kol isha sheyikrav mikol zarachem el hakodshim. The main thing is, kol isha sheyikrav mikol zarachem el hakodshim asher yakdishu. So when it says el hakodshim lakdishu, it's speaking about what? All the kodshim. It's speaking about what? It's speaking about all the kodshim. And then it's speaking about 2 more psukim, which I have on the screen for you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Zion, Yutes, and Chaf. I sent it out, guys.
Paper?
Is Paris a city? Yeah.
Zion, what?
Yutes and Chaf. See psukim on the screen, guys? Okay, great. V'habasa asher yiga b'chol tamei lo yiyachol be'esh yisaref. That's not the pasuk I need. V'nefesh asher toichem b'zevach hashlamim asher la'Hashem v'tumasa elav, right? And Tim is on him. V'nichvasa hanefesh ahi. And the next pasuk, v'nefesh kisiga b'chol tamei, and I cut that off. I needed that pasuk. I needed that pasuk that I cut off. So Chaf and Chaf Aleph. We're going to need your test and Chaf later. So you have this psukim, Chaf Aleph speaking about a shlamim. This is speaking about a shlamim. But the first pasuk, fellas, was speaking about of all kachim. The first pasuk was speaking about all kachim. So the Gemara wants to know, Rabbi Yochanan, shloisha krisis b'shlamim lama. And look at Rashi. Shloisha krisis, emar aleim u'daresechem, which I quoted you. V'anefesh asher toichel basa, nefesh kisiga b'chol tumas adam. Okay, so now, those are the psukim. Amid base. Achas l'klal, the achas l'prat. Now, before you think eye contact, before you think this is a classic klalu prat, it's not. A klalu prat is in the same pasuk. This is in the next pasuk. When it's in the next pasuk, fellas, here's what it is. It was in the klal. It's taken out of the klal. Lo l'lamed al atzmai, not to learn anything about the klal, but to teach us something else. What's it coming to teach us? Says Rashi. Achas l'kal v'achas l'prat, top Rashi. Lidroish dava shahaya b'chlal, v'yotzem in klal, something was in the rule, taken out of the rule. L'lamed, lo l'lamed al atzmai, it's not to teach yotza, it didn't come out to teach you something about itself. El l'lamed al klal kuli yotza, teach me about the whole rule. V'nefesh asher toichel basa mizevach hashlamim, I v'ashlamim hoya b'chal kol ha'kotshim. We just brought a pasuk, emerald daresechem, right, all the kotshim. V'lama yotzu, lahakish alein, to make a hekish, the cloud, the mukish is shlamim. V'loim lecha, ma shlamim yuchadim, kotshim is beach, af kol kotshim is beach. Don't think the din of what, of krisis, of tum is only by what? About only shlamim. Who adin, it's what, is but what by, who adin, it's by anything that's kotshim is beach. Anything that's kotshim is beach. So that's what it teaches me. So now, back in the Gemara, so I have 2 psukim. Achas l'klal, v'achas l'prat, to come out of the klal to teach me that tumas by kotshim is beach. Then the achas and the third one, l'dvarim she'eina necholim, to teach me if you're tummy and you eat wood, you chayav kares. Guys, listen well. Guys, this is the machlokes between the Chum and Shimon. When I say wood, it means anything that can't be eaten. I'm just saying wood to be, concise. If you're tummy and you eat wood, like the Tanakama, you chayav. Obviously, the wood is kodesh. You eat levaina, right? You eat levaina, you chayav. So that's what the third one comes to teach me. It comes to teach me, okay, anything that that can't be eaten. Rashi says, "Kigayin eitzim u'levaina shein aruyim la'achila im achal behem betumas aguf chayiv karabonon demasnisan." You chayiv like the chacham of the Mishnah. Again, going back to our Mishnah and the rest of the first part of the daf, fellas, is the chachamim say if you eat something that's not normally eaten, bituma, but it's kodesh, you're going to get you're going to get karis. Malchus will see. And according to Rav Shimon, no. According to Rav Shimon, not. That was the Mishnah. Now, Shein Nechem Enchem Mishum Tuma. Lasui Mai. Rav Shimon, Dama Dvarim Shein Necholim in Chayom Alei Mishum Tuma Lasui Mai. So in other words, Rav Shimon says if you eat wood, you're not chayiv. So why does the third pasuk come to teach me? Guys, Rav Shimon says if you eat wood, you're not chayiv. So why does that third pasuk come to teach me? It says, Gemara Lasui Chatois HaPinimiyos. Chatas Pinimius, the Par Yom Kippur, Par Helen Dovish Al Tzibur. Right. Salker Ermina Hoyel V'Amar Rav Shimon. Kol She'eno Al Mizbeach Achit Zayin Kishlamim. Ein Chayel V'Mishim Pigol. Mishim Tumah Nami Lo Chayev Kamash V'Lon. Okay, guys, outside eye contact. The sugya of Pigol is from the pasuk of Shlamim. Shlamim. Rav Shimon said as a result, it's not Shaykh Pigol on the Chatas Pinimius. The chatas that goes inside, because the shlamim is bought outside in the azara, so it's not shaykh inside at all. So you know what you would do? You would think, 1 second, if there's no shaykh pigel, maybe there's no din of tumah either. If the kohen's tumah and he eats a basar of the chatas panemius, maybe he's also not chayiv because you're not chayiv in pigel. Kemash v'lon, the third pasuk like Rav Shimon, in pigel not, but tumah yes. So the Rabbanan used the third pasuk to teach me that there's a din of pigel, there's a din of tumah by wood. Reb Shimon, who says there's no din of tumah by wood, what does he do with it? There's din. He needs to teach me that by chatas panemius is shayach vad tumah geschmack. Very very nice gemara, guys. Okay, the last piece, Rabbi Machloikus of Shimon and the Chachamim. Now, look at the psukim. I get. Yeah, keep that. Look at these psukim. Yeah, it's on the phone. I sent it out on the phone. Now, v'habasa pasuk yites, perik zayin pasuk yites. V'habasa sheyiga b'chol tamei. Now, guys, we learned from the word v'habasa, we learned wood. That was the source. V'habasa, we learned wood. Ashayiga, I think it's the second v'habasa actually, not the first one. V'habasa sheyiga b'chol tamei liyachal beishi soref. V'habasa kol tar yachal basa. So this is the second v'habasa. So now, what is this speaking about your test? When he's tamei or the food is tamei? Clearly the food is tamei, guys, right? You ask him? Guys, you see? This is speaking when the food is tamei. Pasuk chaf. V'nefesh eshet hoichel mibasim misevach hashlam mashal Hashem v'tum asay alav. Remember, we had a whole Gemara to teach me alav means him. So v'nichmasay nefesh ahi. Good. So the first pasuk you test is speaking about tumas basar. The second one is speaking about tumas aguf. Got it? Now, guys, when we say tumas basar, you know what we mean? We mean wood. If you hold, we mean wood. That's what we mean. Good. Now the Gemara is going to qualify machlokes. I'm going to give you the Gemara beforehand, guys. Look at the second chart. You see a chart on the screen? You see a second chart on the screen? No, you only see a pasuk. You see no chart. You see a chart? No. Okay.
No chart.
You don't have a chart? I didn't send out a chart to you.
No.
It's the second one.
Huh?
You said it was the first thing.
It was the first thing.
The first thing I sent,
Chart
right?
is before the pasuk.
You see a chart now?
Yes, now we
Yes.
see a chart.
Okay, good. Now let's see what we got in this chart. According to Rav Yomi, the machloikis between Rav Shimon that you're potter and the Rabbanan that you're chayiv is speaking when, right? It's speaking when the tumah, the wood is tamei. The wood is tamei. But if the kohen's tamei and the wood is tahar, then one man the Amar, we're going to have two sets of man the Amrim. One's going to say, everyone says you don't get Malchus, and one's going to say it's the same Machloikis. We'd argue whether you get Malchus or not. So to view me, again, you have two variables. You have the wood is Tameh, or the wood is Tar and the person's Tameh. So to you, we learn the Machloikis and Rav Shimon and Rabbanan is when the when the wood is tummy. But when the wood is not tummy, everyone would say you don't get malchus. You would get karis, but you won't get malchus. And one says the same machlokes. Machlokes b'zu, machlokes b'zu. Rav Kahana, he says no. He says the machlokes, guys, is by the seifa, is by tumas aguf. It's in the second pasuk. When the person's tamei, and that's tar, that's when the machlokes is. But when that's tamei, meaning the wood is tamei, then everyone says you would get malchus, and one says the same machlokes. So that's the machlokes. I'll keep the screen open and let's see the Gemara now. It's a little confusing. Okay. Itmar, Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. We have four people, fellas. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Reish Lakish, Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, and we don't know who said what. Chad mei haizu. This should be the word zuza, like zuga. One from this pair. The chad mei haizuza, and one from this pair. Chadam machlokes betumas basar. One says the machlokes is what where the meat is tamei, meaning the wood is tamei. Aval betumas haguf divya kol eina loike. But when it comes to tumas haguf, when it comes to the tumas haguf, when the kohen's tamei, divya kol eina loike. Guys, look at the chart. You got it. Machlokes, the first line of Tevumi. Machlokes is by the basar, but one of the people says there. One says machlokes. One says. Everyone would say by tumas haguf, ein aloika. Divya kol ein aloika. L'kulyam ein aloika. V'chad Omar, and one from the other pair says, "K'machlokes b'zu, kach machlokes b'zu." It's the same machlokes. You see it on the chart, the first line. That's the Yumi, right? Next, my timer, kivin the karina be'vabasa sheyiga b'chol tamei. Since we have pasuk Yutes, which was speaking about what tumas of basar. Karina be'v tumas love. Therefore, it's the same machlokes. In other words, fellas. See a pasuk now? You see a pasuk now on the screen? So watch. If you hold that this is tamei, so I'll call it v'nichvasa. In other words, I won't make a distinction. If this pasuk Yutes is in vogue, right, and it's tamei, so also pasuk chaf tumas haguf, the same din. I'll call it tumas love. I'll call it the same. Okay, that's the first shot. That's Rav Tevumi. Rav Kahana Masli Hachi. That's where Rav Tevumi Masli Hachi. Rav Kahana Masli Hachi. Chad Mehai Zuza, one of Rabbi Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, we don't know who, or Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Chad Mehai Zuza Aseifa. Chad Am Machlokes betumas haguf. Let's see the chart, guys. See the chart now? You don't see the chart? You see a pasuk or a chart? You don't see the chart.
Just a pasuk.
Okay, we'll get you the chart. Now you see the chart.
Right.
Okay, so now, according to Rav Kahana, machlokes is by tumas haguf, but by tumas basar divya kol loika. Everyone would say you get malchus. Kahana no, the same machlokes over here is over there. Like this opinion that machlokes goes across the board. My timer, even like karina baby tumas love and nechvasa. Like karina beva basa sheyiga b'chol tamei la yochal, right? Since the machlokes, since you don't call it tumasay love v'nechrasa, you're not going to get karis. Like karina beva basa sheyiga b'chol tamei, and therefore what ain't a loika. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara Vaita. How can you tell me you're not chayiv? The word vabasa comes to include everything. That's one of the poisla ba'alma. Comes to passel it, but not to go ahead and be machayiv me. Be like a din de rabbanon. Rashi says the poisla ba'alma umayla de rabbanon. It's a chumrah. The cross smach de ba'alma, and the cross is a smach de ba'alma. So machlokes, well, exactly where Rav Shimon and the Chachamim argue. Did they argue what by tumas haguf, or they argue by tumas what basa? And according to Rava, they argue by both. Kamachlokes b'zu, kach machlokes b'zu, same machlokes. The shame. Okay, earlier on in the Masechta, fellas, The mamish so early on with Beis Amid Beis, we said stam a person shech says it's lishma. Stam a person shech says lishma, and this is the Mishnah that we brought as a raya. But this we brought in on Beis Amid Beis. The Shem Shisha Devarim Hazevach Nizbach. 6 things that you have to have in mind. You should have in mind when he shechs the carbon. The same. We'll go through each one. The same zevach that it should be the carbon that you shouldn't have shinu kodesh. The same zeveach you shouldn't have shinu bailim. Right? You shouldn't change from the person who's bringing it. The shem Hashem. We're going to see what that means. The shem ishim. The shem fire. We'll see what that means. The shem reach number 5. And the shem nichayach number 6. The chatas v'asham the shem chet. Whatever chet it is. If he goes ahead and shech stam and doesn't think any of these things, kasha, shutanai bezdin, sheina machshava cheles alacha oived. In other words, you're bringing a carbon, and you have in mind everything. Doesn't make a difference. If the kohen doesn't have that in mind, you messed up. If the kohen messes up, you messed up. Okay, we brought this in as a raya that dafka you should not have anything in mind, because if you have something in mind, you may come to shaloi lishma. In other words, you shouldn't make it l'shem anything, because you're going to make it l'shem something, you're going to cause tsaris. Okay, so now let's see the Gemara. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav.
What does that mean?
It goes after the kohen. So in other words, you could be the baal and you can have a great machshava, but if the kohen doesn't have the right machshava, you're finished. So therefore, since the machshava goes after the kohen, we told the kohen don't have anything in mind. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Oila l'shem oila, lafuk l'shem shlamim, delay. Ishim l'shem ishim. What does that mean? That it should be burnt in fire. Lafukech kababa. It shouldn't be roasted. In other words, you may go think you can make a barbecue. No, it's not a barbecue. You know what you're doing? You're putting the meat in to get burnt. You're putting everything in to get burnt. Delay. Reach, l'shem reach. You're making it for a good aroma. Lafuke evorim shet salon. Avorim that you would have roasted beforehand, vehelon, and then put on. If you put on pre-roasted meat, it's not going to have the same geschmack or schmeck as meat that is raw. When you have a barbecue, you have raw meat, it's geschmack as anything, right? You put on, reheat something there, it's my Rabbi Taish Reich Nichayach, a geschmack or schmeck. Yeah. Harold had a different interpretation. I'm not going to tell you what he said under his breath. Anyway, Dam Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, a vorim shetzalim ve'elanim mishmerichach. The shem hanachas ruach laHashem. The shem nichayach. The shem hanachas ruach. What does Rashi say? The shem hanachas ruach. Nachas ruach l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She'amar v'naser v'tzaynai. You're doing what Hashem wants to do, guys. This is the word nachas. Guys, this is the shat nachas. Nachas is doing the ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When they say you give your kids nachas, right? We say nachas means you're doing what Hashem will. You're doing what Hashem wants. That's what it is. That's nachas. Nachas ruach. This is nachas. And Hashem, the Shem Yishama, the one who said this should be the world. So those are things.
What is nachas? I know.
Yeah. Nachas means that what you're putting nachas means like to put on. You're putting it on to do the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nachas ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sh'amar v'naser v'tzaynai. He said to do it, and you're doing it. That's what nachas is. I always say pshat. I finally got this advice from the Gemara. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to keep on. I always, Baruch Hashem, I have nachas, right? So people would tell me your kid is. I always never understood the fine line between nachas and gaiva. I never understand the fine line between nachas and gaiva. I'll give you the difference. Yitzi Stern's a great basketball player. That's total gaiva. Has nothing to do with anything except I brought a kid in the world who could dunk. It's a great feeling, but it's not nachas. Someone says your son Simcha is a great Rebbe. That's nachas. That's nachas. It's different. Why? Because being a great Rebbe, you're going ahead and bringing more kids to do the ratzon of Hashem. And it's a very, very nice pshat. It's when you say the word nachas, if you think about it in the future, it has much more meaning than, you tell her, be happy. Be happy, your kids are good, right? No, it means more than that. It means you left the kid in this world who's doing what Hashem wants. It's pshat nachas. We should underline this, guys. Yeah. If you didn't underline it, underline it.
Because there's something else that comes into it also, because the fact that he's a great ball player, that's a gift from Hashem. That had nothing to do with anything.
No, you got to work at it. You can be born with again. There are naturals for sure. I'm sure he has a natural ability, but you have to work at it, right? No racial jobs.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, especially with Yissin, big black man.
Call him white chocolate.
Thing would be the same thing. What's a thing they would have to?
No,
Wouldn't that be the same thing as?
No. no. I see chayin is like find favor in the eyes of God. Here's you. In other words, you did something that find favor over here. Nachas ruach is you're dafka doing what Hashem told you to do. No, but it wasn't in a mitzvah. It wasn't like a mitzvah. Here, mitzvah. You're doing this. The Hakadosh Baruch Hu told you to do this. It's a chiyuv of mitzvah. Chayin is I don't know what that means. It's not something that we say all the time. You don't say when we say chayin. What do we mean? We mean that the child is sweet. Like they told my mother's cute and sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I told them? They told me your mother's cute and sweet. I said you read the Misaskim list wrong and you're in the wrong home. You're not in the right. You got the wrong shiva address. You're not in the right place. Okay. Let's get to the two dots. Amar Yehuda Amarav Chatos sheshachta l'shem oila psula. A chatos that you shechta l'shem oila is pasul. L'shem chulin is kshera. Amar Rav my time of the Rav le'ichalu kachim b'nei Yisrael kachim mechalim kachim and chulin mechalim kachim. We're going to go over this because the whole Gemara is going this tomorrow. Just got to the two dots.
Tomorrow morning.